Well, you know the NCAA theme for March Madness for college basketball on CBS. Well, the players playing in that March Madness could get paid from endorsements from other advertising, from agents and all the like, after a unanimous ruling by the NCAA board to say, yes, players should profit. And right now, I met her at Queens College when she was a coach. She played at D1 with St. John's softball. Kacee, I know you're still involved with the conversation with the NCAA. Tell us your thoughts on this. And thanks for joining me.
Hi. Thank you for having me, number one. It's an interesting topic. I remember talking about it a lot when I was in college, like 10 years ago, in grad school, undergrad, all that. So the fact that they finally let it go through, or have the idea that it's going to go through, along with like making some new rules and parameters for it, I'm not really shocked. And I have like some pros and cons with it. Like, I don't disagree with it, but there are some areas that I'm a little bit concerned about, that they'll be able to make a model that is like collegiate level and not so similar to professional, especially with endorsements and other stuff. Like if they do use their likeness and stuff, I think some athletes may get in a little bit of hot water with it. So as long as they make some rules that are super clear and like that can benefit athletes along, like across the board, whether they're D1, D2, D3, or at a Power 5 conference school or not, or female or male. I think that if they could do that, I think it would be a great model, because it is like a really big deal that some of these athletes, like, they still struggle to like make money to be able to like pay their rent and stuff. I mean, they get a lot of stuff like with scholarship wise given to them, but they obviously earn that. So that's the concern that I have, is like let's see what rules they create and how that goes into play and what happens the first few years that it is out.
Now, do you think your state, because you're in California right now, do you think your state added to this? Because they were starting to put this on the table in their legislature, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think, I don't even know how long ago, maybe it was like, it was in September. So California passed the rule where pretty much like businesses, like in the short term, can use athletes to kind of like endorse their businesses. So for example, like if the BMW dealership, I currently work at UC Santa Barbara, so if the BMW dealership down the road wants to use a soccer player to endorse their, like some of their cars and do like a mini commercial, they can absolutely do that now. And that's also a little bit concerning, because we feel like sometimes if there is like gambling involved, this is our main concern. If there's gambling involved, they can instantly tell like whoever that player is, like, hey, just so you know, I do have a little bit of money on this. If you want to keep your endorsement or keep doing our commercials, keep doing our billboards, keep doing that kind of stuff, like I highly like just letting you know I've got some money riding on this. And that's what we're kind of concerned about.
Well, you know what's interesting about the gambling that you just mentioned is that I had written a status a while ago, hey, you're going to punish Reggie Bush, NCAA, for doing what he did, at USC, and yet you're allowing people to gamble. I don't think gambling on NCAA should be legalized to begin with.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. It opens up too many like floodgates and too many doors, and I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever really truly benefited from it in a positive way. I don't think it's ever been seamless where people could just do it and everything's fine at the end,
And, this is coming at a time where Sean Miller was wiretapped by the FBI and all this stuff, and then Bill Self had to defend Kansas. So it's coming at a time where all these schools are coming under fire. Did they do this to maybe ease the stress of all the minutia of signing all these kids?
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like there is some pressure, because the Power 5 schools and the football schools that are making a lot of money, it's a constant, rat race. And in order for them to be competitive, they have to go above and beyond, and they have to figure out loopholes, and they have to figure out how to get these kids to their schools. And sometimes, so I think they realize that we're in a different era where, these things are going to happen. So if they don't want the NCAA to be scrutinized and have so many more issues, they have to change. They have to, involved with how it's going. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to punish these people for not following the rules.
Sure.
But, like, if these things keep happening, like, it's happening for a reason. Like, if it happens twice, like, okay, those people just had poor judgment, poor character, poor morals, whatever their moral compass was. But if it keeps happening, then I think you kind of have to take a look at that of, like, what can we do to help these teams still stay afloat and still stay competitive? Because, like, at the end of the day, it is, like, these people's jobs on the line. Like,
right.
If these football schools or these basketball schools, like, don't win, like, sorry, you're out of a job. You're fired.
Right, and we've seen it.
Yeah, these coaches are going to do, like, whatever they possibly can, and they're going to find, like, any gray area within the NCAA rules to just, like, be successful. So, I mean, in that sense, like, I totally agree. As, like, I was coach, obviously, it was just softball. It wasn't football or basketball where it was a top-tier thing, but, like, I get it from that standpoint. Like, it's their livelihood. So
well, even college softball, you see the World Series now on TV every year, and that's fun to watch. But now that says, well, these girls are finally going to get something out of being on TV, and that's not just going to be meal money. And I come with this as an announcer, watching the girls and guys play hard every day, train hard, get up at 6 a.m. for 2-a-days. I mean, so you guys, athletes have earned this right. As you say, we have to be careful with it, but I think at the end of the day, this is a good thing. But as a player, Kacee, with St. John's, did you ever think, man, I should get some money for what I'm doing today?
I don't know, because I thought about it in a sense, and the thing is, I was that person in my, what was interesting in college, whenever we had this conversation, I feel like the athletes were the ones that would say, no, we shouldn't be paid for it. I think it's a different era now. I think there's a little bit more entitlement nowadays, but why we thought about that was because, like, for example, okay, speaking from my personal experience, okay, just, like, not boasting myself, but I had a full scholarship. So, like, I don't know.
You had a full ride, and you felt like that was enough, that you didn't need extra money, that the full scholarship rewarded you enough.
Exactly, because beyond getting a full scholarship, they also give you a stipend that raises every year with the cost of tuition. So it ended up being, like, by my senior year, I was getting a $1,500 check a month to be able to pay for my rent, pay for extra stuff, do whatever. Obviously, that doesn't go super far in college in New York, but it was enough, and it was better than, like, what a lot of other students possibly could be getting if they didn't have a job. And, like, you get all the free gear, and you get, like, health care. Like, if you get hurt, you go to your trainers. If you need to go to see a psychologist, you get that. If you have, like, nutrition issues, you go to see the nutritionist.
Right.
And you have, like, all of the support and, like, strength and conditioning. You get all of this stuff that, if you think about it, if a non-athlete tried to do all that kind of stuff, that's a lot of money. And I know that comes along with being an athlete. Like, that's part of the deal. That's what you're in for when you become a college athlete, especially if you're at, like, a higher school that has those resources. But at the same time, there are certain athletes, though, that go above and beyond and make their school so much money because of who they are, whether it's selling jerseys or, like, actual I mean, I don't know how they would be able to gauge this or keep track of it, but, like, ticket sales for certain basketball games, football games, like, a lot of people are coming to see, like, some of those specific players, and it's like, I don't know how they would keep track of that, but, like, that's the big deal. So for me, like, I said no because I was like, well, we already get all that kind of stuff. But then again, I'm not in the same category as the football teams and, like, basketball teams and the teams that really generate a lot of revenue, and their likeness is used even on, like, the video games and stuff. I know that was, like, a really big deal.
Right. The EA Sports games.
Billboards, like, I don't know, on billboards in, like, New York City, like, for Madison Square Garden, like, having their faces on there and all that kind of stuff. So it's more about the teams that are generating revenue for their school and drawing large crowds that I think it's really fair for them to give them money because the school's making money off of it. Like, they're making money off that person or that team.
Now, you know what's interesting, Kacee, is I kind of deal with the cultural aspect of everything here nowadays on Keep It Real with Alexander Garrett, and I truly believe that the Zion Williamson story where he busts through the shoe and Nike stock goes down the very next day, that had to open some eyes like, whoa, this isn't just a college kid. These kids are making an impact on culture, on the stock market now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not shocked about that.
Well, do you think that might have rolled into even California's decision, seeing all that play out? Like, whoa, this kid made stock go down? That's unheard of in college sports.
Yeah, whether we want to realize it or not, or accept it, it is all about money. So if you're able to make someone money, we're all for possibly, like, bending the rules a little bit to progress with figuring out how you can make us more money, even though that kid's not going to make any money themselves. And if you're going to negatively affect it, we're going to figure out a way to completely stop that
right.
and reverse it so that let's bend the rules a little bit more and see, like, how can we reverse it to make this crappy situation into a good one and still make money.
So you've laid out the pros and cons. At the end of the day, Kacee, and thanks for doing this. I know you're in California on the move, but thanks for joining us. What will come out of this in the long run for the NCAA and for society?
I think with any new legislation, there's going to be some hot water that they're going to get into. There's going to be some gray areas, and people are very, very smart in collegiate athletics, so they will figure out a way to get around it. But I definitely think that in the long run, I think it could do some good if they're able to put down some really clear parameters and make it even across the board where both male and female athletes can use it, whether they're at a Power 5 school or a smaller Division I school or even D2, D3, all of them. Like, it's all equal. So if they're able to do that, I think that it would actually be something really, like, it would be progressive. I think that it would be a good idea. I just hope that they can figure out the rules and make it equal. Were
you surprised Tim Tebow went on that rant he did as soon as California made that legislation happen?
No, I'm not. I mean, I would have probably gone on a rant too. But no, I'm not really shocked. I think some of the athletes are going to, especially like if they're the bigger athletes, they're going to have something to say about a new rule like that, new legislation, because I'm wondering, like, what background did some of those people that made those rules, what do they have? Like, what do they know about collegiate athletics or, like, the understanding of why that rule should be enforced and what the consequences could be by enforcing a rule like that. Not saying that they don't know what they're talking about, but it's like I'm curious to see, like, who were the people in that room that created that rule and said, yep, this is going to be a good rule, rather than putting money aside, like putting the well-being into, like, the athletes and the colleges. And I think they're more worried about, like, the businesses.
Well, and they're worried about the political stuff. If you're in legislation, you want to make sure you appeal to a certain base, and that sometimes can backfire, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, Kacee, keep doing what you're doing out at UC Santa Barbara. And, by the way, who's your college team these days? Like, who do you root for on Saturdays for college football and college basketball? Are you still a St. John's fan?
Yeah, of course. Always St. John's. I don't know. I don't really have, which is crazy. I don't really have a favorite. I've been looking out for, like, some good athletes, though, that I can watch and appreciate their character and appreciate, like, what they bring to a team. So that's the kind of mode that I've been in. I haven't really been rooting for anyone specifically on a team.
Well, this whole thing's been...
People probably hate that. People hate that. But, I mean, I don't know. That's how I am.
I got you. It's been a whole wild college football year anyway. My Irish went down in Michigan, against Michigan, and I was like, are you kidding me? But that's why they play the game, so...
I mean, if I were to root for anyone, I think it would probably be Notre Dame.
Nice.
Because my grandpa played there, so he played football there. So if I don't root for the Irish on a Sunday and we're at a family party, then I'm probably going to get kicked out of the family. But besides that, so yeah, that's really it.
Well, Kacee, thanks so much for joining us, and come back again. This was great.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
You got it.